Also with us tonight is the IT Director, Quentin Chardonnay, who is running the board. Public comment, is anyone online? Is anyone online that has a public comment to start our meeting off? If hearing none, seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes from June 4th.
So moved.
Okay, great. Do I hear a second? Second, I'll second.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
You threw me off because I thought that I was supposed to read them. Oh, my gosh.
So, no, you can read them. Yes, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm good.
All right, so is there any discussion on the minutes? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes from June 4th, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it's 3-0. Are there any selectmen comments? Either selectmen have any comments? Anything that's,
I actually just have a question. I don't know if you know, but do you know where we are with the lining of the roads? I know we were holding off because they were doing a comparison of that 10-year paint.
yeah.
Super not reflective at night.
So I got a call on lining on yesterday from a gentleman from Denison Hill Road, asked me when we're gonna line it. And I said, well, we're gonna be chip sealing it, within the next month or so. So we don't want to line it, so after we chip seal it, unbeknownst to me, we chip seal it today. Within 2 weeks, we'll be probably lining that road. So he probably thinks I have a magic wand, but so that's and we're using the 10-year line, as you just mentioned, only because the other one's faded in like a year and a half, 2 years. So, yeah, was it that particular road?
No, it was there was a lot of roads in town that I know we were holding off on doing, and I know since we're coming to the end of the year, I didn't know if we had any of that planned for.
Not that I know of. In the new LoSiP plan we do, but not in the year end. I've tried to, because of what happened last year with the mower, I'm trying to kind of squash or at least monitor what gets bought at the end of the year. So we're not just buying things for the sake of buying things. So, but I don't know of any. I know they were doing these three, had to do all these three chip sealed before the end of June, which we got all three roads done between yesterday and today. So Ryder, Town Wheeler, and then the part of Denison that goes from Pucker Road down to the Four Corners where the Palmer Farm is, that got chip sealed today. Great. Nicole, anything from you?
Yeah, so I thought I had seen something that, that we might, postpone the discussion about the conservation easement because we hadn't gotten.
Yes, so when we get to that stage, I was gonna
Oh, okay.
a motion that we postpone that.
Perfect. Okay. I just saw it on the minutes, so I was.
It's in your packet because that just happened
Yep.
within the last day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
All right, any other comments? No? Okay, first selectmen comments, I really don't have any at this point. I will start, discussions with moving the monuments since we voted to do that at the last meeting. And I will, when we get to the number 15, I'd like to consider canceling the July 2nd meeting. It's a week that, town hall's closed on Thursday and Friday anyway, because of July 4th. It's a big vacation week. And, if we don't have anything that's really pressing, I'm trying to put everything off to the 16th. So we can talk about that when we get to that 15th, but that's something I'd like to consider.
So are we sure, as we talk about moving the monuments, we don't know what the plans are for the entire piece of property now that the building is down? Are we gonna just incorporate that in or potentially have to move them twice if we decide that someplace else in that whole property might be a better?
No, so in the community conversation, which I know was a long time ago, we actually had agreement on three things, remember the different groups? And the three things that the groups did agree on is moving of their monuments. They'd like to see some sort of barrier using trees between Route 2 and the property, just to better seal off that property, maybe a little sound deadening for the people in the village now that, boom, they have Route 2 in front of the house. They didn't have it before. And then the third thing was doing a walking track around the perimeter. Those three things were agreed to. So far, the only one we've attacked as a board is just the movement of the monuments. I think they've always meant to go into that, from day one, into that half circle. So no matter what we do in the park, they could stay there, and it's the perfect place because the parade ends there. So
Yep.
I just want somebody that's smarter than I am when it comes to landscape design to determine where the monuments should be placed. I get 4 monuments and 2 granite benches. I'd like to be placed nicely, because once we move them once, I want to leave them. The only thing I haven't investigated yet, and I want to, is see if the monuments are sitting on bases now or if they're sitting on the ground. So if they're sitting on the ground and I put them on hard bases, like let's say we pour a concrete base, it could heave and it could crack the monument, which I don't want to be the one responsible for cracking the World War I monument after 100 years. So I just want to make sure that we do it right and we don't damage anything when we do it.
Okay.
And then, as you brought up at the last meeting, then we have to also think about what goes where the monuments came from. So I think those 2 oval signs that say now entering the historic village, which you really can't see, they're dark green and then they're in the shade. Maybe move those out there and ask the Garden Club or the Grange if they could maintain those. So, okay. Great. Anything else? Okay, has the group from the website checked in with us yet, Quentin? Evan, okay, so do we have a way, is he gonna be doing a presentation? Is he gonna be doing a slide deck or? Okay, you can, we're next, that's the part of the agenda we're on, so we can bring him on if you'd like. He can introduce himself, tell us a little bit about him and his company.
Okay. Oh, everybody can you hear me okay?
We're gonna give you just a little bit more volume.
All right.
How's that?
Is this better? Testing 1, 2.
Hold on, we're gonna get you a little bit louder.
All right. Take your time.
That might-
Is this better?
all
Okay.
of it. Yep.
Yeah, that's good.
I'll just keep talking until I get the good. If it's okay.
Okay. So, welcome. Thank you for coming to our meeting. Quinn, who's the director of our IT department, has spoken a while back about the possibility of changing websites. He felt that our website is a little bit antiquated, doesn't do the things we want it to. We also use a company called Everbridge to get information out. And I think we talked about how was that we're not having great success with that. So he asked if we could, and I spoke with you a few months back. I asked you if we could just wait till after the budget season. So we're there. And I'd like to see if you could just explain a little bit about what you do, who you are, what the website might look like, the cost, those kind of things.
Sure. I can go over a quick demo and I can show you the front end of the site, what it would look like for the public. And if it is of interest, I can also show you the backside management of it. Would that apply here, would you say?
Yes, also, just so you know, Evan, with us, I've got Selectman Brett Mastriani and Selectwoman Nicole Porter. Okay, thank you.
Great. Okay, nice to meet everybody. Yeah, I will let's see if I can share my screen here. I could start off with that. Okay. All right, can you see my screen okay? It should be your website, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'll start off by showing one of our example customers. It's the town of Litchfield here. I think it's a good place to start because it's a good representation of what our site is capable of and what it looks like and how it operates. So I'll switch to that here now. And okay, so this is our homepage. And yeah, when I presented to you a few months back, I think it was actually all the way back in February, we were showcasing, we were reaching out to a lot of municipalities that had the version of Civic Plus, your current provider. That version that you have has been somewhat marked for that it's at its end of life. There's some background technology to it that is being outdated and sunsetted, as they say. And so we were reaching out to a few towns that we saw that had that platform and decided to showcase what we're doing. And so this is our take on a municipal website. It's something we've been working on. We've been doing this for about 5 years now, and we have quite a few customers here in Connecticut. And we have plenty of references that we could pass forward along too. But this is the one of our default templates of the homepage of the website. So we have a nice introduction slideshow here at the top, maybe a welcome message from the first selectman in this case. And then we get down to the shortcuts, the things that people come to the website all the time for. We can showcase them right up front and have it be always available to them. These are what the shortcuts that, in this case, the town of Litchfield decided to show. But I want to stress that all of these things are replaceable, and we would take your own spin on it depending on what you want to have highlighted. As we scroll down, we get to the more dynamic aspects of this homepage where the latest news. So as you're posting news, this is always being replaced. You might come back here every day and have this part of the site change. And then upcoming meetings and events. So this is always going to show the most relevant events that are coming up at the moment in time that the web user is on the page. So this is, of course, also always updating. And then as we scroll down, we get to some more resources that they wanted to highlight specifically. You can see here we even had the link for Everbridge because they're still using that in this case. Online tax payments, minutes, and agendas. You could see how these are, probably what most of the site visitors come to see. So we put that right up front. In their case, they wanted to highlight a Greenway project that they have going on. You may not have a project. We can just remove these parts of the site, or as I'm showing here, we can find a home for them if that's something you wanted to promote. A little blurb about the culture and history, and then we get down to the footers. And the footer is kind of more redundant navigation, sign up for the newsletter, and any other sort of prompts that we want to have to kind of close up the initial landing page of the site. And then along the top here, you'll see is our main navigation. And of course, the main tab being government. And so this lists all the entities that make up the government. We've divided them into departments and offices, as well as boards, commissions, and committees. And so each one of these entities gets its own landing page. But before I click on that one, you will also see over here, we have some more redundant shortcuts. This is again, the most important items on the site. So we wanted to make sure that somebody can get to it no matter where they are on the site. So I'll click on Assessor now. And you'll see here's the assessor's page. It's a dedicated page specifically for the assessor. What we really like about this layout is it becomes almost like a miniature website for each entity specifically, because some of them have a lot of information to post, and the assessor is a good example. So we start off with the contact information, hours of operation, what the role of the assessor is in town. If they have news that they're posting, it'll show up here. So these are just bits of news from the assessor. A lot of FAQs that they wanted to upload so people can answer their own questions. They have staff and contacts with their contact information as well. And then at the very bottom, we have files and documents, which is kind of like an archive of all the files and documents that have been uploaded over time. You can see here all the way back from 2019 in their case. And they're obviously not uploading that many files, but it's nice to see them all in one place. And over time, this will be searchable and archived. And so everything's kept track of in a really nice chronological way. On the right side here, maybe we need to get into some more details of specific aspects of the assessor. For example, motor vehicle. You see this is under a subtitle called subpages. So each one of these pieces of content can actually get its own full page as well, in case there's a lot to talk about, but it's still all under the assessor's umbrella, so to speak. If there are files and documents you want to highlight because they're referenced all the time, we can showcase them right up here on top, as well as links out to other websites that are considered useful by the assessor. So if we apply this logic, this layout to each of the entities that make up your local government, then we can kind of see how this website works. I'll click on another Board of Education, for example, because that's a much different kind of entity. That's obviously a board. So when I click on that, you'll see similar layout, similar resources, contact information about the Board of Education. But since they have meetings monthly, we have a whole meetings section here that shows up for them. And so it'll show their next upcoming 3 meetings. If there is some that were recently held, they'll show them here. Instead of staff, in this case, they have board members, of course. So now we can see the list of board members. We can even see their affiliations and their terms. And their files and documents is obviously going to be a lot longer, a lot more than the assessor, because they're having multiple documents per month. And we can see that this actually aggregates all of the content. We can even go through more here to see previous months. And then any documents that are older than 2 years, we actually move them over into an archive website, which is all part of this package here. So you'll see here, if we're looking for older documents, we can go to this other site entirely where we have the long-term storage of all these documents. So we did this to kind of keep the main website clean and operating smoothly, while also making sure people can still get to the information they're looking for, regardless of how old or out of date it is. Before I move on to the other parts of the site, is there any questions so far?
Evan, what are those, are those minutes and agendas, or are they other documents? I can't see the screen from here, so.
You want to tilt it a little bit better?
Hmm?
Tilt
We
it.
just won't be able
Yeah,
to.
just small print, that's all. So are they, is it minutes and agenda, or what kind of documents are in the Board of Ed?
Yeah, most of these are minutes and agendas from from all their meetings. So
Okay.
that's the bulk of what it is they're uploading.
But you could also put policies on there as well, school policies.
Yes, that's correct. A lot of times when there are meetings, you obviously have maybe file packages, right? So sometimes they're minutes, but other times there are files that you might be referencing during the meeting. These will all come in as part of the event as well. So yes, any kind of file type will be attached and archived properly.
So Evan, you don't know me, but I'm about the least tech savvy person. But I have a question.
Sure.
Does your company, and this would be for you too, does the company manage the site? And by that, I mean, do you look to see where people look behind the scenes somewhere to see where people are going to the most, and then optimizing those things, or maybe bringing them forward?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. Yes. So what you're looking at so just so you know, my role in Civic Lift, I am the founder and the kind of the owner of the product, but I'm also the designer, and my background has been in design. So I think about this a lot, and there's so much information on municipal sites, and there's so many different kinds of users that come to the site, and they're each looking for different things. So I mentioned the word redundant a few times during this meeting already. I like to consider our platform being helpfully redundant and meaningfully redundant in a way. So we give users numerous ways to get to the same content. So as I mentioned to you before, we have the homepage that has a button for pay your taxes here. There's also a button for paying your taxes here, and there's also a button for paying your taxes over here. So that's a big reason why people come to the site, because they want to pay their taxes. These are the kinds of things we've seen over the course of our working with municipalities. So yes, we are tracking the user behavior, and we're designing accordingly. And we've picked up on some really strong patterns, and that's why we love this layout, and we were really thoughtful about it when we were building it. Not just what we wanted to see, but what the pattern showed from users, what they were actually doing. So we kind of went along with their tendencies to come up with this layout. Does that answer your question?
Yes, absolutely.
Very cool. All right. And there's a few other key functionalities to the site. So I showed you how each of the entities are listed, but also we have a municipal calendar here. And I showed you how on the Board of Education page that there was the Board of Education events. What's nice about our system is that as the person from the Board of Education is uploading the events to their own page, it's also getting dispersed out to other parts of the site. For example, you could see right here, the Board of Education event is listed right there on the calendar as well. So it's not like they have to upload their event to two different places. Our system is smart in that you upload it to one place and then it disperses it to all the relevant parts of the website. And so again, we can have numerous places on the website that show the events that are coming up, for example. So anybody at any point in time can come to this page, find today and click on any of the events that are happening today, and they'll get to a full detail page of what this event is. And so here's a Board of Selectmen meeting that we saw. And you can see here, obviously, meeting info, place, time, and then in this case, they had the agenda, they already have the agenda attached to the event. You'll see that file comes with the event right here. So here's the Board of Selectmen agenda that they uploaded to the meeting. But if we go to so it's very helpful to have it there, right? When somebody's planning on coming to the meeting, they see the agenda right there. But because the Board of Selectmen uploaded it, you're also going to find that right here in the archive already, because our system was smart enough to know, okay, this is an agenda of a meeting. I'll attach it to this upcoming event, but then we'll also feature it here in the archive of files and documents. Because some people might come to this page to find out about tonight's event. We don't really know, but it doesn't matter where they go. They're going to find the correct information. Another aspect of our site, of course, is we saw a little bit of this on the homepage, the news and updates. So the homepage showed the last 4 pieces of news. This is all the pieces of news that have been uploaded. So somebody can go back in time and read all about what was taking place at any given date. And if you recall, on the homepage here, here's the latest news. And so if we're keeping track of where we're finding the news, if the assessor or in this case, the first selectman uploads this event, this piece of news to the site, it's going to show up on the first selectman's page. It's going to show up on the home page, and it's going to show up on the news and updates page. Again, thoughtful redundancies that make it so it's really easy to find any content on the site is really our focus.
Evan, I have a question. So except for the homepage, which is pretty nice, it looks like it has a rotating number of pictures, which is nice. It can show what the town looks like.
Yeah.
But I don't see, now I just see one now, but I don't see it when you pull up the other pages for boards and commissions and so on. It just seems like I'm reading a book with no pictures. And a lot of people like to go on like right now, our Board of Ed website has been redone. They have their own website, and it's very picturesque. There's a lot of everything we talk about on that website has a picture to go with it, whether it be a sports team or have to be a graduation picture, whatever. I don't see a lot of that with this website. Is it just that you're not just showing them? Because the cover page looks great, but I'm also not seeing it on you pulled up First Selectman or assessors, whatever. I'm not seeing any pictures with that. So
we actually do have some image fields for each entity, so they can add pictures. I guess just in this case, Litchfield hasn't gone through the process of doing that for each of their entities. But yeah, I agree with you. Making some nice engaging pictures for the entire site. Even each entity themselves could easily have featured images for their own page. So that functionality is there as well. And we actually do encourage that quite a bit to spice up the site like that. I think it makes it much more engaging. I agree.
it is possible to add then pictures.
Yes,
Great.
sir. Yes.
So what other towns have you done in Connecticut?
Yeah, let's see. We've done Morris, we've done Kent, we've done Durham, we've done Winchester. We're working with Torrington. Let's see, Barkhamsted. There are definitely quite a few. I think we have 14 in total that we've done. So I'd be happy to even send a list of links so that your team can review some of the other sites that we've done as well. And actually, some of that might have even been in our initial proposal, which I could send over again, if that makes sense.
Yeah, if you could send that list of towns, I'd love to go through some of the towns and find towns that are similar to ours and see how they address their website.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. Slight differences in each one. I don't think there's a, out of the box platform for any one town, but what's nice about our platform is, we have a place to start and it's a solid place. But we can accommodate customizations as we go, as part of the initial build out.
Evan, can you tell us a little bit about, so recently I actually had to go on our site to try and find a document on our rec commission. And I went in and just used the search function, and
Yeah.
it just kept bringing me to minutes and agendas. So how can, can you use, I see your little magnifying glass up there at the top for search function. Can you explain how that works? If I wanted to look up a document that needed to be completed that the rec commission had?
Yeah,
That's-
absolutely. So this is a search field, and it's a pretty global search. So based on keywords, anything that's uploaded to your site, we'd be able to find in the list. Now that what sometimes isn't really thought of all that much is how competitive the keywords are on your own site. So if you're searching for vague keywords like meeting minutes, it's going to show vague results in a way, because there's a lot of things categorized as meeting minutes, for example, on the site. But it is, you start attaching a date to the search, or you start attaching what entity it's for. Now you're going to get a better result. So we have the global search right here. But if you also are looking more specifically for, we can say minutes and agendas in this case, we also have a search specifically for just minutes and agendas, or a file directory. So if you see here, we can filter by the entity, then we can even search by entity or date or title. So you'll see here HDC agenda. As I start typing, then it will start filtering for HDC agenda. So yes, we have a global search, and then we have more specific searches to help people get to where they're looking for.
Thank you.
Sure.
So I was told that the rec commission has a document to complete for, to reserve Hewitt Farm. And I just couldn't, like, what I wanted to get to was the rec commission's page. Like, I assumed that the rec commission had a page, and maybe there would be agenda and minutes there, but maybe it would also have frequently asked questions and things that I could go to and get information on. And I just,
So that is
couldn't-
on my rec. So it should be a link off ours. So our
so, and
recreation
that's,
is on.
that was one of my
on my rec.
questions. So why does the Board of Ed have their own web page? If, like, I wouldn't know. I don't
Yeah,
have
if
kids
you-
in school. I don't know that they have their own web
You go
page.
into our website and go to the Board of Ed, you can click onto it, send you over to
Okay.
their website.
Okay. So you're saying that in our current state, the rec commission has something completely separate
Yeah,
than
it's a
what I
pro,
can
it's
find
a
on the.
program that actually allows for their enrollment and all that other stuff.
Oh.
So it's, so
But how
that's
would
where
I
you would
know
go
that,
to.
though?
Well, it should be on our website. If we don't, we should have
Yeah.
that link on there, but it's one of those things. So that's where you would reserve space at
Yeah.
Hewitt or any of the other
Okay.
offers.
So
we-
I think that's what I wanted. I wanted to find out information, anything and everything I wanted to know about a particular board or commission. So that's what I was thinking that I was going to get. But in this, to your point, each board and commission has its own little web page right within our large town webpage.
That's correct. But
Okay.
I think you mentioned that the platform was MyRec. Is that right?
Yes.
Well, yeah, I didn't realize, and nor did I find easily.
Yeah, we've seen that a lot before, actually.
Okay.
MyRec is a good platform for, renting out facilities and things that are not so much specific, that are much more specific to their entity and what they're trying to do. So we do have some that still use MyRec, and Litchfield is actually one of them. You can see here we have a link to their own dedicated site here. They've made a little promo for it within their information here. So there's no missing it. And when I click on it, it obviously goes to their MyRec page. There's also been times where the link for their entity here could go directly to their own MyRec page as well. So it's kind of, we can choose how we want to do it. If they don't want to manage their listing here, then we can make the link go directly to their own website anyway. When you click on Park and Rec, it can go directly there, like right here. I can make that go directly to their own page. Or to
Ours does as well. So if you scroll down under the commission's page or department's page, it's North Stony Recreation site. You click on that. it
Well,
goes
I
to my-
see, I don't even, I get,
It is also a link up at the
multiple
top.
Recreation Commission, little blurbs. I don't see, but I mean, this is the issue though. I mean, I typed into
Oh, are you
our search
searching?
function, Recreation
Oh, well,
Commission.
yeah, if you search that, it'll just bring up like the,
It's gonna bring up
Minutes
anything that
agenda.
has to do with Recreation Commission,
Yeah,
and you'd actually have to click on one of those, the Recreation
yeah, so if you
Commission.
scroll down like you're showing on on your screen there, there's, so I'm looking at it on my phone, but there's a,
Yeah, if you go up the top, it should be, yeah, it's click here for recreation website.
Got it. There it
and
is.
then automatically goes.
I mean,
That
it
is-
doesn't matter, but I'm not seeing that at all.
Yeah, so the
Fine.
issue with, if you go to our search bar and you type in recreation, like type in Recreation Commission, it just brings up a ton of stuff about Recreation Commission and not our actual.
See, that's
Page.
exactly what I get. Like that to me meant nothing and I don't know what I was looking at. And again, remember that I'm not tech savvy, but then so are a lot of our
On
residents.
most sites, that's how it would show though.
But what are those? What are all those things?
So that's
And-
anything that is related to rec.
Anything that has to do with Recreation Commission, those words.
Yeah.
But
So-
in that, it does say found in Parks and Recreation Department. You'd have to click on that link to get to
Yeah,
the official
yeah,
government
that's where
page for them.
yeah, okay. I know that a lot of our, obviously a lot of our boards and commissions have, or some of them have their own sites and for good reason, but I like having everything in one place. So if we had, so if Board of Ed already has their own site, they would have in the future state for us, they would have their own page, but basically what would be there is just a link to their
Yeah, just like
other
It
we
would
have-
just
page.
click
Yeah.
right, it would click
we have
right
now.
to their webpage. It
But-
wouldn't even be a page inside of our.
Yeah, so it would have
website.
the Board of Ed members, that kind of stuff at our page, but then you click to the actual website, tells you what all the sporting events and all the stuff that's going on. So
Okay.
I don't think there's anyone besides my rec and Board of Ed that has that. EDC used to have a page,
Yeah,
but they
economic
don't anymore.
development. Commission.
So, Evan, I got a question for you. So when we're looking at the Litchfield site, there's an awful lot of information. Who populated all that information? Does that fall back on the boards, commissions and committees, or is that how does that happen?
Yeah, this is a good segue into going into the management section of the site. So, so short answer is yes. What we do when we onboard a new customer is we migrate all of the existing content on your site into our new system. So you're not starting with an empty site. And once that is done, we start granting individuals access to the parts of the site that they manage. So for example, if your assessor should only be managing the assessor's content, then that's all the assessor will see. If there's some staff in town hall that should have access to all entities, like the town clerk, in our case, in most cases, they have access to all the entities because they're uploading files on their behalf. They'll see all of the entities here, and like you see on my screen now. So you'll see, here's a commission, here's a department, here's all of the entities that make up the town of Litchfield. And don't ask me why, but the town of Litchfield, for some reason, has 87 entities. I had no idea they have so many. It's pretty wild. Most of our other customers is a much shorter list than this, 30 to 40. But as a user or as a staff, we can, it's nice that we can give access to only the parts that each individual needs access to. Makes the site management much simpler. And but you're viewing this now as somebody who has access to all of Litchfield's entities in this case. And so, as I mentioned, we migrate all the existing content on your site, all the files, all the upcoming events, all of the contact information for each entity. It's all loaded over as part of our onboarding. And now let's say that I am the assessor and I'm going to be managing some of my content. The first thing I do, it's like you choose the hat you wear. You'll see right here, I'm going to select the entity and I'll choose assessor. And so now you'll see some new options along the top. All of these options pertain to the assessor specifically because that's the hat I'm wearing right now. You'll see here we have the entity details. So this is about the assessor. We can put in contact information here. Here's my phone number. Here's my hours of operation. Here's my address. So at any point, we can go in here and change the details and hit submit, and that would automatically go live on the website. So as the assessor, let's say I have a new document to upload. I would simply go over here to the Documents tab. I'd click Add New, and then I would say the title of the document. And what's really great about this process is it doesn't just let you upload a document. It makes you specify what the document is and what date it's from. So we're kind of forcing in good archiving practices, right? So I put in the title of the document and I'm going to say that this is a form. And so I have all these options of meeting minutes, permits. I can choose whatever kind of type of document I want. And so as I said, I'll make this a form and I'll attach today's date to it. And here, when I click on choose file, it'll take me to my browser, my computer, where I can choose the file to upload. And then I click upload and it uploads it. And then all I have to do is click submit, and now it's been dispersed throughout the site properly, depending on what it is. If it was minutes, then it would go into the minutes section as well. If it was a form, it would just go into the file archive. And so it's really easy online forms. You just fill out linearly and it walks you through it. And on the back end, after it's been submitted, our system is smart in the way that it just disperses it to the proper parts of the site automatically. This logic of simple online forms is the only thing you really need to know about managing your website. So if I have an event coming up, I click on events, I click add new, and again, online form, give the event a title. When does it start? When does it end? Does this event repeat? If it's like a monthly meeting that happens all throughout the year, this is really handy. We can just choose monthly. We can describe the event, what it's going to cover. We could put in the title, the address. If there happens to be, I don't know if you run any Zoom meetings where people can join, kind of like I'm joining now, you can put in the link for that right here and it becomes part of the details of the event. Same thing with if you want to upload the recording of the event, we can put in the link here and now that's part of the event as well.
So can you just tell me on the back end, what makes your website different? What's different about this back end? So this back end looks just like my back end of my website that I use. So I'm just wondering, is there something that makes yours different than others?
Yeah, I would say that the aspect of it being smart in that it disperses the content throughout the site, I think is really key in this case. The redundancies that we built into the design, I think really maximizes the user's awareness of what's available to them on the website. I would think the submission process, I'll admit, it's not innovative. It's not different, but I think that is because, these are municipalities have certain pieces of content that they want to upload, and it's really geared more towards ease of use for staff and to cut out needless duplicated steps along the way. And I also think that the fact that we force municipal staff to include extra attributes to everything they upload, such as, the file that the date is from, what type of file it is. When you include those pieces of data to the content you upload, well, then we can be smarter with our search on the front end. We can search by the date, we can search by the entity, by the file type, and we're going to find it because all of that data is attached to each piece of content that's uploaded. So I think that is really the main benefits of this modernized platform. And we see a much better user experience, and we get a lot of feedback from our customers about how their residents have been using it and appreciate those types of simplifications and upgrades.
Thanks.
I'm also gonna add, Evan, on Civic Plus the current platform we're on,
Yeah.
it, like, just to upload an agenda, you have to put it on the calendar, then go back, upload it to the actual department or, commission that it's actually going on. It takes multiple uploads just to get it out to everywhere it needs to go.
Yeah.
This would make the back end a lot easier to manage than what we're currently using. It's really clunky what we use right now.
And current state right now, who is responsible for uploading all of those documents?
That'd be me.
Okay,
It's me, and then we have Antoinette as backup.
okay.
So Evan, the two things I had hoped to get out if we were going to make a change on the website would be obviously easy to use, because as Nicole said, in a town like North Stonington, not trying to cut ourselves short, but there's a lot of people that don't have the tech savvy that you would maybe in a city, right? So not people that are working a lot on computers at all times, and people sometimes complain they can't get onto the website or they get lost. The other thing is attractiveness. When I go into websites from my abutting towns, they're pretty boring. They're all pretty much Civic Plus, or there's another company. They all look about the same. And there's nothing that says, wow. The last time I said wow on a website was when I looked at the new one that we just did for the Board of Ed. And to me, that has a wow factor to it. Like, oh my God, this is such a nice site. I'm seeing people I know, and I'm seeing pictures of the school and sports teams, and it just is a very friendly, attractive site. And I'd like people when they go on the North Stonington site to go, wow, this is so much nicer than, you know, I don't want to mention any names, but some of our budding towns will say, they just seem to be doing the same thing over and over and over. And we'd like to do things a little bit different. We surprise people. We had a planner that was here for a number of years, and we did a lot on our planning department to bring that IT and technology to our planning department. She went to another town assuming that was going to be so far ahead of our town, and it's actually so far behind. North Stonington surprises people. It actually has done a great job with IT over the last 10 years. So we
Ah, so
hope
good.
Britain will take us to the next level of that. So I'm looking for attractiveness and easy to use. And do you by any chance have, and I don't want to cut you short of this presentation, but do you have another town besides Litchfield, which is a big place? Do you have another smaller town that you might be able to pull up real quick to see what that looks like? Whether it be Kent or one of the other towns you mentioned?
Yeah, let's do, I think Barkhamsted is our smallest.
Okay.
Yeah, so here's Barkhamsted's site. So, it's as you could see, same logic, same template. They have, a little bit less going on. These are their entire list of entities, but they have these different features to show. So we do like to represent the individualness of the town. But North Stonington, it sounds like you might have a lot more for us to work with when it comes to nice photos and other things to promote, and those things that you're mentioning that you want to be different about. That's excellent. I think I love working with projects like that and creating more dynamic landing pages in that wow factor that you're talking about. So so yeah, these are things that, some towns take advantage of that, some towns don't. I think that's why you see a lot of the same patterns from one town to the other. But we can work with you either way on that. And if you have assets that we get to play with, then we will definitely include them and make the site, nicer, aesthetically for sure.
Thank you.
So did we get a proposal on ours and costs?
We did a while back in
Yeah, it's
February.
probably has to be redone, but we did a while
Yeah.
back. And then at the time, comparing to what we use, when we add Civic Plus in Everbridge, now there's a piece that we can talk about that. We can keep Everbridge for now, but they have a place on their website. I think you can show us, Evan, where you can sign up for alerts on your website, correct? So we
Yes.
could eventually get rid of Everbridge. When Everbridge and the site we are now added up to more money than this site, when we have them both.
Right, but Everbridge is through texting and stuff.
It is,
So-
but, and then, right, but there's only, we only have like 300 people signed up on Everbridge.
Right, so we can't, it's a different
But
comparison.
it's
So
cool.
this wouldn't, just sends out emails or messages?
That would be Evan.
Yeah, we do have the newsletter sign up. So there's actually two things that an individual can sign up for. Of course, we have the newsletter, and that is just those traditional emails that your staff would write and message out to your residents who have signed up for this in bulk. So that's, an easily understandable process. First name, last name, email address. And now from there, you'll be able to email them. We also have this subscribe to notifications feature, which we think is really nice. And what this is an individual resident from your town can opt to be alerted when certain things happen that matter to them. So for example, if I was wanting to get all of the meeting minutes from the Board of Education, I can click on that. If I wanted to get the news and updates from the Board of Selectmen, I click on that. And again, Litchfield has 87 entities for some reason, but a person can sit here and cherry pick exactly what they want to be notified about, even if they want to hear about everything. And
Similar.
Kind of, yeah. One question I had, Evan, was there was talk of the possibly having the text slash pretty much just the texting feature added in the
Yeah.
future. I know we had talked about that back in February. I didn't know if there was any progress with that.
yeah, we did identify how to move forward with that. Admittedly, that we would be using a third-party service that we would integrate into your website. So it would be capable of sending out those alerts. Let's see, the SMS messaging, the text messaging is it's definitely a completely different technology than email, of course. But leveraging the platform that we were looking at would get us across the finish line in terms of replicating that functionality for you.
So that'd be an additional cost, obviously. So
Yeah.
adding Everbridge to the cost of what we're doing now and then comparing to this isn't apples to apples by any means.
No, agreed, but if the pricing comes in anywhere competitive, a little bit more, a little bit less, but competitive with Everbridge and our existing Civic Plus this and whatever they do, if we're getting a easier to use and a more attractive website that pulls us apart from everybody else around there that has the same boring website,
But
I think we've won.
yeah, we
The
discussed
other-
this after.
Yeah, the other thing we'd have to look at is I've been getting notifications from Civic Plus that we're going to get a price bump because we're gonna have to have them redo the website with because it's outdated. The platform that they use is Drupal and it's just completely out of date. It's end of life at the end of this year. So we're gonna have to pay them something by next year anyway.
Well,
Yeah, that's what I was mentioning at the beginning of this meeting. There's their underlying platform that they use, which is Drupal. They're on a version of it that is being sunsetted. So I think that's what we're referring to there. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is something I could get costs from them as well, so we can
All right,
kind of
so-
compare.
So Quinn, if you can get us a new cost
Mhm.
with what would be included, let us know where we stand with what we have and
Yeah.
with Everbridge and Civic Plus and what if you know anything about, if we can guesstimate what that, you may not know. And then Evan, if you could send us some other towns that you do so we can look at those. And we probably put this on one of our next agendas to discuss more. We always like to discuss things more than once before we decide. But if that's okay, and then if we need to call you back, we will. If you can make another Zoom meeting with us. If not, we can just call you, let you know we'll get a hold of you, let you know what our decision was.
That sounds good. And you know what I'll do on my side is I'll also reach out to that third party vendor for the text messaging so I can get a price from them that we would so that you can compare, apples to apples in terms of functionalities price wise.
Great. Any other questions?
I have some, not really, well, to Quinn,
Okay.
no more on the presentation.
Okay. So Evan, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity to present and let me know if you have any questions.
Great.
Have a good evening.
Thank
All
you.
right, you too. Bye-bye.
So do you have can you give me the ballpark of what that last quote came in for design, first of all?
For what? This?
Yeah. Because I understand the concern with Civic Plus, but if you look at other towns, you can do quite a lot with that. So if you look at Waterford, for instance, their website looks much more robust than ours does, yet they use Civic Plus. There's also a company called Revise that does a lot of government sites. So I think we need to look in and get proposals from others as well. Because so my initial reaction to this one is it's pretty basic. It's a basic website to me. And it looks like most other websites, but that does go into the design. So the more you give them, the more they can do, but the more they do, the more, the higher cost it is.
Right now, the town site is that we're stuck on that old platform. It's like Civic Plus has, I'm sure the newer version probably has a lot more that the issue with the current one is kind of.
It is, but to be honest, I think some of the functionality of the current website is easier to use in somewhat easier to look at compared to everything listed the way it is. And that goes to design, but like if you look at, like, for instance, like Watertown, they use Revise, which is it's pretty nice site. It looks like it's a newer one, so they're doing stuff, but it has everything that you were talking about a little bit, Bob, about you go to the different departments and there's more stuff there. Right, and that's Civic Plus, so
Really? Cause I mean, just looked regular, yeah. I was on,
yeah, part of that, this one, the proposal we just looked at, I actually think it might be more confusing for older people to utilize. But yeah, if you can look up the rough ideas. Okay.
Right now, Civic Plus.
Fine.
sorry, go ahead. Oh, so Waterford, down at the bottom on the right, you could choose the language. You literally choose the language and the entire site switches over to that language.
Yeah, there's
Like I just touched by
yeah,
by
that's through-
accident,
all through Google,
Assamese.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, in North Sorington, we don't have a huge population, but that's actually really cool. I've never seen that
Yeah.
before. Right? I do.
Right. So I think we need to get some costs and maybe some
Wow.
presentations from the other
That's
two.
amazing.
I like it when people are the most. Get out down. A lot more going on, while we also can embrace the fact that we are. Yeah, I was surprised.
I think what is missing from ours is I love the pictures at the top. I did like, no,
So we could do that on our site.
really? Yeah.
Yeah, we could do it currently on our site the way it is, through the back end. We used to have pictures before.
Although this is cool because what's scrolling at the top now is different information.
Right.
Like the new transfer station, bulky waste stuff. closed for Juneteenth.
Your mic's off.
Yeah, so as I was just saying, Quentin, and we have to put a notice on the computer that after July 1st, 2024, that the transfer station fees will drop to $20 because they're good for 1 year now. I've had people come to town hall looking to buy a sticker, and I'd say if you can just wait like a week and a half, you can save yourself $20. Because after July 1st, it'll be 20.
Okay.
Then a year from now, we'll start talking, well, before then, we'll start talking about the next sticker and the next onslaught of, okay.
Are
And
we required to have an Everbridge? Have we ever sent out an
Yes, I
Everbridge?
get Everbridge all the time.
Like what? Cause I
I
signed
get,
up,
a-
don't
I get
anything.
alerts. I get alerts on when there's a Board of Finance meeting. I used to get it more.
Why, we
Not
did it during
required, no.
COVID.
Oh, I thought, cause I mean, in healthcare, we use Everbridge as well, but it's to call it's to put out mass
So
communication.
luckily, we
for
haven't,
certain things.
luckily, we haven't had
I know.
anything crazy in the last 3 or 4 years, but prior to that, yes, when there was a hurricane coming, we could put information out about that.
Okay, so I have signed up. So I do get emails saying, hey, there's a Board of Finance meeting. So I must have signed up for that. So I didn't realize you could use
It just
Everbridge for
might
that
not
as
be
well.
As beneficial for a town like ours that when it first was brought up and the town went with it. Because like the state uses it for emergency alerts
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
That's
but-
what I thought we were using. And then I
But
thought,
maybe the cost out doesn't make sense for us because not a lot of people are signed up and we don't utilize it that much.
Yeah.
yeah.
But
So, and
can
that's
you
what I
pull up
wanted.
And share the screen, the school website.
Sure.
And that's why I was asking, if there's only 300 people signed up, what are they actually getting pushed? And are we required by some statute that we would have a way to get in touch with people? So if there was an opportunity to save money, would we eliminate that?
I think we
Part.
probably should eliminate it. Especially if we were looking at another website that doesn't even have it.
Hmm.
I mean, if they do the text messaging.
Yeah, so this is, can you pull that up? That's a great
Yeah, let
picture.
me just share.
That drone picture of the
So
field
Zoom.
is great in the
Please make
schools.
sure Zoom can see it as well.
And what platform are they, I know.
I think younger Greg
The
did this.
younger Greg,
Yeah.
I'd have to ask him what he's using.
Can you shrink that so you can see the whole picture? Yeah, I mean, that's a nice
But if
picture
you
of our
scroll down, so
campus.
Nicole can see, like, they do have like what's happening further down, like, the agenda or upcoming events and all that stuff.
Yeah,
But they'll always have their own website.
but I had no idea they had their own site.
Hmm.
No idea.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
didn't realize that the rec has their own
So the rec,
site
the
too.
rec website is mostly for
It's what they
use
use.
of
Yeah.
signing up for the
Yeah.
events. It does the billing, credit cards and all that stuff goes through there.
Yeah, I'm open to looking at other companies, getting
Yes, I
quotes
think-
from multiple
Well,
people.
I
I
think
know.
it's a good start because they got us thinking about it. But I
Yeah.
think whether we keep the better version of Civic Plus with the changes, and I'd love to have a site that looks something like Waterford did, or somebody, I don't know if we need all those languages, but I think just something that when you go on, like I said, when I first went on our school website for the first time about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I go, oh my God, this is so much nicer than it used to
Yeah.
be.
Well, the problem, and the thing you have to remember with websites, though, it's as much content, yeah, they'll set it up for you, but it's as much content as you put on when it's all done. And that's
Yeah.
where you have to be worried about the quotes too, because they're not always expansive of everything. So it'll be limited amount of work that they'll do, and then a lot of it'll fall on
I mean,
us to,
Yeah.
for, you know,
as
for
a
you to put in
collective,
the-
yeah, as a
to put
collective, I
in
would
the,
have to,
content and all that stuff. So when we did the EDC one years ago, it was beautiful. It was great, but it was a lot of work, and Juliet had to put in time. I had to put in time of going, okay, what pictures, all that stuff. And, you know, it was, it all depends on how much that quote is not always relative to the whole cost of
Mhm.
the setup.
yeah. And my biggest issue is just the back end of Civic Plus right now. It's just very clunky and it takes a lot of time just to post different stuff and get it the way that it is now. And it's not even that great. So that was my biggest reason for wanting to do an update on the website.
With this new, with the new improved Civic Plus, the one that we're gonna get charged for because as they said, what they use now is sunsetting.
Yeah.
Is that going to have that ability to,
I have not even seen that from them.
okay,
Why would we have to pay if we have, I don't know anything about these contracts that we have with these vendors, but if the product that we currently have is being sunsetted, why isn't the company saying, hey, FYI, we're gonna need to, update, we're changing you to a different platform?
They should.
Why
A
are
lot
we
don't.
paying
Do we-
for the
did we-
fact that their platform is sunsetting?
Did we ask them? Right, so you have to ask those. If you look at the majority of websites, town websites in Connecticut, they are Civic Plus. So Civic Plus isn't just gonna lose all that business because they're not gonna work with the municipalities to update.
and obviously a competitor would wanna know that so they can sell that to, hey, they're sunsetting anyway, so.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, great, next. IT GS manager report. So do you want to, give us a report written on follow-up to your last visit with us?
Yeah, I gave out the, I gave out the papers. No.
To refer to? Oh,
No, that was all from the top of my head.
yeah.
So I did implement the ticketing system last week and it's actually been going great. It's been
What
helping.
makes you say that? What kind of feedback have you gotten? Or is it just for you, it's so much easier to track and keep organized?
Both. It's been easier for me to see like a request, it's sitting there. It's been 4 hours or like today, a request came in. I was working on something else and I saw it had been an hour. There was a response already in it. So then I responded and said, hey, I'll come down and see you in a few minutes. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out, but it was nice to be able to see like time for how long it's been sitting there, or if I got pulled somewhere else and I come back, I'm like, oh, I had that still sitting there that I still need to work on.
And it
Um,
allows you to email the person that made the request saying, hey, I'm doing this, this, and this, and then I'll be over? Does it
Yeah.
allow you that communication?
So I can write into the ticket, I'm looking into this or I'm working on something else. I'll be down in 30 minutes and it sends an email response to them.
Perfect.
And
Because
then
then
it's
that way they
noted.
know, it's just not responding to them or not because you're busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
And what's nice too is it keeps a log of all that. So if they respond back, there's a log of just our conversation.
I appreciate all this, of what you took away from our meeting and then a synopsis of what you're doing daily and weekly. With the meetings you've been having, like with the school IT,
Mhm.
have you talked to them yet about, like the group purchasing and stuff? So the reason I ask is we purchased a few things, I think a few weeks ago that I noticed when I signed checks that we were getting market rate for. We weren't getting any government contracted rate. And if you shopped around online, we could get it cheaper than where we
Yeah.
were getting it from, the company that we order all our IT. But when you look under under the contract code, it just says market rate. But I know the school has special rates, as well. So
Mhm.
it'd be nice for us to work on utilizing all those purchasing.
We have been in
powers.
discussion about that. One of the biggest thing is like trying to possibly combine like the CBS printer contracts. Maybe we could get in some of our like smaller printers into a bundled contract, so we're not going out and buying toner cartridge for market rate. But other than that, yeah, I'd be open to talking with them. The current company I go through has been going through a lot of changes in personnel, and they're kind of on my last straw. So I'm thinking about possibly switching, trying to find a new vendor. So could work with the
Yeah,
school to
'cause we
see
should utilize
if
purchasing
they're,
power.
whoever they're using, I could possibly talk with them and maybe we could combine forces and use whoever they're using, or I could try to find someone new,
But
but
we should at least get the same contract rate. Usually they'll allow
Yeah.
it, even through different.
What are we using?
right now I'm using SHI.
And who does the school use?
I-
They use SHI, I think, for certain.
Do
things,
they?
too. But
Okay.
they have, like,
They
we
get,
should be
school
having
gets
a-
stuff cheaper.
We should have municipal rates, but for some reason, and in that, you have to reach out to them and talk to the salesperson or something, but when I
Yeah.
see market rate on it, and then you look things up and you're like, shoot, like, we can get it cheaper anywhere else.
I did have to buy a toner from Best Buy because it was cheaper than what I got quoted for. So, that has been an issue. When I started, I had a rep with SHI who had been working with Jim, who was great. And then she got a new position. And since then, it's kind of just been downhill from there with them. So these past couple weeks, I have been thinking about switching the vendor that we purchased from.
Just to let you know, I go to Dollar General once a month for toilet paper and paper towels because it's cheaper than Amazon. Yep, they expect to see me once a month in there buying a bunch of stuff. Okay,
Yeah, our
anything
meet-
else? Any
uh,
questions for Quentin?
I do think the meetings with the school has been going really well. We are planning on redoing this whole room. That's our big project for the summer.
I know
pretty
that's one of Brett's pet projects.
we-
He's,
What is it?
Me and both the Gregs, in talking, have decided that our project this summer will be the three of us trying to make this room better, make it a little more official, make less wiring.
and we
less
did put money in the
clutter.
budget for that. I believe it's $20,000 for this building to be used for this facility, so.
Yeah,
And nothing, I mean, nothing to do with maintenance or it's not that, it's for the building, so.
Very good.
yeah.
Right.
So I think it was 2 weeks ago, we started the discussion of like, I'll look up this, Greg will look up this, and we're gonna go from there. Do you
Not
have
be
any
able to talk about
ideas?
them tonight, but please, if you have ideas of what you'd like to see this finished product look like.
But yeah, getting rid of some of the wire and making it look.
That's
like
our
it's-
biggest
like
thing.
It's more of a permanent.
Yeah, our biggest
setup
thing
of
is
the-
like the tech.
Yeah.
We're obviously tech, we don't know, I'm not big into
Well, there's other
furniture
th-
and
well,
all that, so if anybody has anything,
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, Beto can
ideas.
tell you about the paint peeling over there, or this thing hanging from the ceiling over here. So I get it, and then we've come a long way. I mean, we're lucky we have this room, but it could definitely improve to be. I see some of the other towns and some of the meeting space they have, like I look at Griswold's, I go, oh my God, it's so nice. You know, they get the big town seal behind and it's really nice.
Yeah, not that I ever have to drive that, but I just see, it just seems like Laura comes with, instructions that have been given to her, but just things seem to change each week when we're logging in, or there always seems to be, like, to me, there should just be 1 through 5. This is what you do every single time when you set it up, and, that I would love.
I just have Quentin come
Yeah.
to every meeting.
yeah, we definitely have plans to make this a lot better, simple, easier,
Very
and look a lot
nice.
nicer.
Yeah,
Very nice.
yeah, if that could be part of the IT change, it'd
Yeah.
be great. Okay, any other questions for Quentin?
No, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
All
You're
right, thank you. Also, thanks for running the IT tonight. Conservation easement discussion. So a couple things happened in the last few days. We didn't get the forestry plan until Friday. Susan was out sick, so I didn't get it till Monday, which I forwarded it to you. Bill, Ricker is on vacation out west.
Steve Colgan had reached out to me
Yeah.
and just said, I think he was concerned at that point when he reached out to me, we hadn't gotten the report.
Right.
So he's like, I don't know what we're supposed to do or have planned, so.
So what I had, because we got the report late, and I talked to Chris, the gentleman who spoke to us that day, and also I said I wanted to, this was on the meeting for tonight's agenda, obviously. I said, we don't have enough time. I need the selectmen to have more time to look at it, and the commission needs to look at it, and they're not meeting until Thursday. And I said, I really want to have some input from them. And I said, the only thing I'm worried about is you're starting on July 1st. And I don't want you to start the project, and if we vote to say, no, you're not going to go forward, and you've already started. So he said, well, we're not going to start now until probably mid-August because of some endangered species, whatever's on that property they have to deal with. So I said, okay, I want that in writing. So can you give me something in writing saying that you will not stop before August 1st? He gave me that. So with Bill being away, getting the information late, and now we've got the start date moved back to August 1st, I felt comfortable to maybe moving this to the July 16th meeting, if that's okay.
I agree.
All right, you okay with that, Brett?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Bill has a copy of,
He does. He's on vacation, but we sent it to all the board members.
okay, good, thank you.
And I just redid their agenda today. Bob DeGrossi sent it to me, but he took a snapshot of it and we couldn't download it to the computer, so I retyped it for him and is that on the site now? Can you look and see? Conservation Commission is there? That agenda that I redid today, did we put that on the site yet for Thursday? No, so maybe Antoinette would do it, right? Because they don't use,
When are they meeting? Oh, they're
Thursday
holding the
and-
June 20th,
June
this
20th.
Thursday.
Yeah. Is it on?
Yep. Yep.
No, not recreation.
Oh, hold on.
Conservation.
Yeah, it's on.
Yeah, bike trail, Mystic River watershed, conservation easement monitoring,
Yeah, but that's monitoring,
Oh.
not the conservation easement, this. It's not the
planning.
disturbing, it's monitoring. Because we have roughly, think 20 conservation easements in North Stonington. And what they do with the commissions, they split them up. And we have to after somebody, every year, every 2 years, 3 years, whatever it happens to be, somebody from the commission goes on and looks at the site
Goes, yes,
to
it
make sure
was,
that it's,
yeah.
yeah.
So I don't actually see the conservation easement discussion on their agenda.
No, because they took it off, because Bill wasn't here and they're gonna,
Oh,
now they're gonna have, their next meeting is actually scheduled for the 18th and we're meeting on the 16th. So they're gonna try to pull together a meeting prior to our meeting. They have a month to do it, so.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Great. Okay, next, number 10, speed humps. In your packet, I've got the information from Alan before he went on vacation on some speeds on the speed humps. And I try to, so this is the part of Rocky Hollow, and part of it is Main Street that goes from the brewery to the fire stations. If you look at lane 1, there's 2 pages, lane 1 and lane 2. Lane 1 says total vehicles 1357 at the top. Lane 2, which is coming from the fire station to the brewery, says 493. So let's look at lane 1 first of all. So it's going from the brewery up to the fire stations. And it's 1,357 cars, total cars, and this is 1 week. Over the speed limit, 1,131 went over the speed limit of the 1,357. Now, if you want to say, let's give them a 5-mile-an-hour grace period. Let's say they can go up to 30. Well, that's 226 cars went between 25 and 30. So you can only subtract 226 cars from that 1,131. The total number of cars that are going over 30 miles an hour, we've got 621 cars, or 46%. So almost 50% of all the cars are going over 30, never mind 25. So if we're giving those people the grace period of that 25, extra 5 miles an hour, we're not going to give you a hard time. Well, there's still 621 cars that are traveling from 30 miles an hour and over. So you're already 5 miles an hour over. So almost half the cars going in that direction, going over 30 miles an hour. Going the other way, now the other way you've got coming from the Route 2, you're coming and you get a stop sign at the intersection. And you get another stop sign at the brewery. 493 cars went that way. Only 262, so less than 50% of the cars were speeding. And if I give them that 5-mile-an-hour grace period, you've only got 101 cars that were going over 30 miles an hour, 21%. So we're seeing that a much less number of cars are speeding from the fire station to the brewery versus from the brewery to the fire station. Now, there could be that there's a stop sign coming from the fire station down at that intersection. There's not one going the other way. That could be one reason. But when we went out and talked about a possible speed hump, which I wanted to put in over near where the Baptist Church parking lot was, the question, Sean Murphy was there, and I think you both said, okay, show me the documentation. I've got documentation from October, November, December that all mimics this documentation. Always the same, about the same percentages. This just happens to be the most recent. I can do this again. But what I'd like to do is contemplate putting one speed hump in, not two, one speed up in somewhere near the Baptist Church parking lot and in between the two houses that are across the street, so it's not directly in front of a house. And when I went to the local traffic authority and I mentioned this situation, I was in a classroom with a lot of people, and I said, there's been some thought about putting a stop sign there again. I guess there was one there before. And they said they never recommend a stop sign for speed mitigation. Said it actually doesn't work. Yes, it'll stop the car. If they choose to stop, they'll stop the car that time, but then the car goes faster to make up for the lost time that you made him stop. So they never like to use stop signs for mitigating speed. They also said that stop signs, policemen, any flashing speed signs, the driver still has to make a conscious decision to slow down. Speed hump, you don't. Speed hump's there. You don't have to slow down, but if you don't slow down, you're gonna hit the speed hump. So it kind of takes that decision-making out of the hands of the driver. I did talk to the fire company, because I figured that'd be my biggest opposition. And according to Chief Steinhardt, and he was there with Dan Sawyer, and they said they weren't gonna fight it. If we put it there, they don't drive through the village at more than 25 miles an hour anyway, and they weren't gonna fight a speed hump being there, because I had heard through the grapevine that they were gonna be the ones that push back the most. Typically, it's the people that don't live in the village that push back the most, and the people that do. And there's no question, if you ask anyone in the village that lives on Main Street, that the speed humps that are there now, after they got taken used to them, have definitely slowed down traffic. And
How about our trooper, as far as if he's based, I mean, I guess if he's based out of Old Town Hall, right? And he's gotta go someplace quickly, lights and siren. I mean, he's got two that he's gotta maneuver over towards the school on the way out of town to Route 2 the long way, but he hasn't weighed in one way or another.
so Jason, actually, no, and when we first put the 4 in, I rode with him and went over the humps at 15, 20, 25, and 30 to see what reaction the vehicle would have. But he has never said to me that he does not like the humps, he doesn't want humps, because all you're really doing is slowing down to maybe 20, not to get jarred.
And I was just thinking for emergency services, having to go fast to get someplace. I don't think it's,
Well, they said, I don't know exactly, I haven't timed it. When I used to go to Little Man's to get a coffee every morning, I would think it maybe took me an extra 10 seconds to get to work, because I'd go down to 15, go over the hump, speed up, go down to 15. So it's just, there was like someone from the traffic authority reached out to say, why don't we just drop the speed limit to 15? But then someone else from the traffic authority says, well, if they're not gonna slow down for 25, why would you change it to 15? So, again, we're a board. It takes 3 of us to decide. But,
we have money left, we have money left over that, cause right, we were
Well,
originally talking 8 or something, right?
the originally quote we got was around 2,500 a pump. And then the new quote said it was gonna be 5,000 a pump. When we put the 4 in, they actually charged us the 2,500. So I don't know what they charge. I could get a quote from B&W, put them in last time. I like have someone put them in that knows what they're doing, because now they're gonna be made a certain way. Not something that, like, originally, Donnie said, well, the highway department will put it in. I said, no, you're not, because if you don't put it in right, I don't want any kind of a liability that we did it wrong and now someone damaged their vehicle.
Yeah. But do we have money
There's-
earmarked for it?
No, but there's money in town aid roads,
Okay.
LOSUP. We're not talking a lot of money, so in the high end, maybe 5,000, on the low end, maybe 2,500.
Cause we're suggesting one.
I'm
two.
suggesting one, you can suggest whatever you want, but I'm afraid that if we put in 2, it almost give a washboard effect, it'd be too many stops. As it is now, you're coming from the light where the fire station is, you go over a speed hump, you hit a traffic sign, a stop sign, and then you come through in front of town hall, you hit the second stop sign. If you put in 2, it'd be, I think, too much. I think 1 is ample. But again, just my opinion, you guys can weigh in and tell me what you think.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to get the quote on it, so we know exactly how much we're dealing with.
So let's, and I'll be, I'll make sure I get that for you before the next meeting. But would the price determine if it's 25 to 5,000, say it's in that range, would the price determine if it's 5, it's out, if it's 25, it's in, or do you have more of a philosophical way of thinking about speed hump?
No, I just would like to know if we're voting on it, how much it's gonna cost.
Oh,
Because if
understand.
it came in at 10,000 for some reason, because
I don't want to vote on it tonight. I wanted to bring you the information.
Yeah.
And we can vote on it on the 16th, but I'll have a quote for you prior to the 16th.
Right. So I look at this, so I understand the stop sign, and we did receive an email regarding one of the residents about the stop sign, but that's exactly what we did to curb the speed in front of the brewery, right? So we used the stop sign for speeding.
I will, and I understand what you're saying, because it's almost the same situation, because you can either go straight, but you're really not crossing in front of somebody. But in that particular case, when you got patrons walking out of the door, it's like to know people are stopping as people are walking out from
Well,
the
I'm
door.
not saying I disagree. I mean, I think it works there. And I don't know if it wouldn't work at the other one, but I understand what you're saying. We don't use it for that. I do think we have a higher traffic count on that road because we don't have speed humps. So I know a lot of people that go that way to avoid the speed hump.
Yeah, but then you have to deal with the light at the top of the hill, right?
Which
I
you
know, but they
can't,
still
there's
do
no
it.
turn on red, no turn on red either at that
Oh,
light.
if you're coming that
And,
way, yeah.
So I think that's it, but I do understand it's the village, but I would say that we have this speeding issue, no matter, if you put one of these cameras or sensors on most of the town roads, we would be in that same ballpark.
So I'll tell you what I tell a resident, let's say, I'm gonna pick a road, because I've heard it from Babcock, I've heard it from Ruderman, I've heard it from Dennison Hill. We want speed humps on the road, heard from Wyosup, I want speed humps, I'm going, okay, well, you put them in the village. Well, the village had a survey about 4 or 5 years ago, that 85% of the village agreed that they wanted to slow down traffic and they would accept speed humps as a way to slow it down. If that was a 50-50, I don't think we should ever put them in, because that means half the people didn't want speed humps. If everyone on Babcock Road, and I don't know how many people live on Babcock from start to finish, if 85 to 90% of those people said they wanted speed humps, I think we, as town leaders, we'd have to at least consider it. But I doubt that many people on Babcock would agree to it. Where the village, when you have churches, we have 2 churches, we have school in the bottom of one of the churches, we have a library, we have a town hall. It just cries to be, and we used to have the biggest school, to be a slower process of driving, right? So when you're on a road like Dennison, Bennington, yes, should people speed? No, but they tend to, but you don't have as many people walking around. I mean, in the morning when I'm sitting at my desk, we have so many people that walk their dogs around the village, and and that's what you want the village to be, a village that people can walk around and.
Bob, who did we end up giving the pickleball asphalt to?
So we've only awarded the first part, which is Abby. Is it Abby? The second one, I wanted to give it to Five Star because it stayed within the budget of the money from the Rotary. But Tom seemed to think that Abby would drop their price to right now, Abby was, for the first phase, was 8,500, and Five Star was 6,500 for phase 2, which is the final coating and the lining, which adds up to 15,000, exactly what the Rotary gave us. Abby was 8,500 on the second phase, and they weren't gonna do it. They were bringing a company out of Bristol to do it. So when I talked to, I think his name is Dan, to say, hey, can you drop your number down to 6,500, and I'll give you both pots, A and B. He says, oh, I can't do that. I wasn't making any money off the guy from Bristol. He was doing it for me at a number. So I
This
said,
was Abby or the other one?
this is Abby. So I said to Alan, then why don't you reach out to Five Star? And if you're happy with their work, why don't you reach out to Five Star and say, when Abby gets done with the phase 1, let's get phase 2 done. Because I really would like to have, because the Rotary gave us the money, and I think it's a wonderful gesture, and I'd like to have some signage denoting that they did that, to give them some publicity out of it. But I'd like to have I won't say like a ribbon cutting, but an opening of the pickleball course, maybe get some people in town that like to play, come play a few games, get Wesley Sundown to take a few pictures. And I think it'd be nice to do that. And I'd like to have that done by mid-July.
Abby just did my next door neighbor's driveway. And Rod and I were very impressed with the job that they did, but that's all I know about.
But the reason I ask is sometimes there's minimums on how much asphalt they're getting at the truck, so it might be advantageous to see what that company would quote to do the speed humps at the same time, if they're gonna have their.
As long as they've done speed humps before, I don't mind, but if, I want someone that's done it, that has done it before, so we know exactly how to do it.
Can't we just get the people that did it before?
Well, BMW did it before. That's where I would get a quote from, especially if it's under $5,000, but,
Because I think, how long have they been in?
they've been in for 2 years now.
2 years? I
Yeah.
mean, they've held up well.
We
Yeah,
had,
but sometimes when they're coming in for one thing, it might not be
oh, for one hump, you mean, it might
for
be.
one hump, and it
Oh.
might not be beneficial for them
For
to
them to
do
even
it.
do
Well,
the
that's why,
job.
kind of a similar thing I explained to, when, the Armstrongs came in, they're like, when is the pickleball courts gonna get done? I said, well, all these companies are working, they're coming out of the winter. Now they're all working on roads, they're working on parking lots that they're making, $500,000. So for this $8,500 job, that's almost like an afterthought, like, okay, we got some extra asphalt in the truck, run over to North Stonington and do that project. So, I think they're coming in, Abby's thing's coming in next week for the first phase where they shim the courts to make sure everything's level. And then they're gonna put 1 inch of material on the whole thing. And then the second phase is coming in with finished coats and lining it. So that, and that's a much nicer coat. It's like nice, like you see on a basketball court or a tennis court, yeah. Okay. All right, so I'll table the speed humps to the 16th, but I'm gonna get a quote for you between now and then. Is there anything else you want to say about that?
No, I just didn't know if you wanted to maybe vote onto a certain dollar value. That way, if for some reason something is happening in town where we're having asphalt in, that you can make that decision and just.
Just say not, like the Board of Ed does, like not to exceed number?
Yeah, I didn't know if you wanted.
Well,
that
I
flexibility,
mean,
but
it'd be nice to be flexible only because if I can get it done, I get it
if
done.
and what if you get it done before July 1st?
Oh, well, boy, that'd be cutting close, right? 2 weeks, it's like next week. 2 weeks, yeah, it is 2 weeks, you're right, yeah. Next week, this weekend's what, the 22nd, 23rd?
Yeah, the only
Yeah.
reason I say I know the highway department had money.
So,
left over.
all right, so I would motion that we, and now do you want to go up and look at the spot again to make sure we put in the way?
No, I have faith.
Okay, so, okay. So, well, I picked out the first four. They worked out pretty good. Well, one person in the village didn't like me, but that's okay. So, I would say, what if we did a not to exceed $5,000?
I'll
Okay.
second.
Okay, so the motion is to, put a speed hump in on Rocky Hollow Road, somewhere in the neighborhood of the Baptist Church parking lot, just one hump. And if the quote comes in and does not exceed $5,000, I have to go ahead by the Board of Selectmen to go ahead and get it done. Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Okay, Recreation Commission. So Jim texted me yesterday, and I think he texted you, Brett, saying he wouldn't be here. But I said, that's okay, because Brett seemed to, I think you seem to be on top of what's going on. correct?
Yeah, actually, I'm the one that picked up that. But actually, I took it from a few towns and merged them. So I can do this. And so just for reference, the background on this is that we have no official contracts with any of our
Instructors.
instructors. And so there was two parts of this. The first part was, I've been working with the Rec Commission for about 1.5 years to try to get a background check policy approved that they would utilize. So that happened about a month ago. I don't think they actually implemented it yet and started doing any, but that's supposed to take effect this month.
Is
and
there
I
a
think
cost to
July
that?
1st. There is a cost, and that'll come out of the vendor's fees or the instructor's fees. So these are just, this contract here is for the programs that we sub out. So basically, you approach the rec department and say, I want to give bike riding lessons, or a program for bike riding. The way it works right now is we advertise the program, we run the program through MyRec, then we give the instructor or the person running it 100% of the proceeds from it. And we have no official contract. We don't do background checks, nothing. It's just, they approach us, we run it through our rec program, and we give them 100% of the money, and then we have to 1099 them. So if you look at surrounding towns,
Hang on, 100% of the money.
Mhm.
So they decide that bike lessons are gonna cost, they're gonna charge $25. They're using our facilities, let's say it's
In that case,
indoor.
they probably own it.
Huh?
In that case, they probably own
like
it.
the bike riding.
No, yeah, so let's just say, pottery.
Well, yeah.
So
you'll-
if they,
They're
right now, if they are using the rec building, there is a $5 fee, I think, per participant.
Oh,
per-
okay.
But our
Because-
residents are paying that. That's added on to our resident fee.
Okay.
And that's just for the building to help with
Okay,
cleaning it. But so one of the people that run one of the programs said, look, I don't mind paying the fee because we've been doing it, but I want to make sure the building's clean, things like that. So there wasn't some issues with
Yep.
certain groups leaving it dirty. But anyways, we have no official documents or anything between us and the contractor. So looking at other towns, there were ranges from actually most of the ones around us charged 20%. So Waterford, Ledyard, and this one was modeled after Ledyard. Basically, I took some towns are very long. They're like a 4-page document. So we figure start small. I talked to Laura about it because she agreed that we need something between the parties. So I gave this to the rec. They decided to vote on what percentages. I put in the 90% and they went with that. But what they did do, instead of doing the 5% per participant, it's going to be an additional, it's 5% of participant fee. So it'll be 15% that the town keeps
Oh.
if they're using the building, any municipal building, whether it's the school or the rec building. Down the road, it might be a conversation. So like the people using tennis courts, if you want to add that in, because we maintain those tennis courts, and that's a subcontract. So that's not the rec department running that program. That's a guy that gives lessons.
do we, have we run this by, just for feedback, any of our current instructors? Are we at risk of losing people now that we're asking for 10%, and then if they're using the building, we're asking for another $5, right? $5,
5%.
5%.
So
So-
they did, I think Tom did talk to some and some didn't have an issue. Some might have an issue, but we have to look out for the town in that aspect.
I think this kind of falls under similar to the transfer station, when we're the only free ones around. People come from all over. And even when we put our fees in, we put in the lowest transfer station fees around. This is very similar. Well, I think Brett's idea of making, having a list, we know who all these people are. We know how to contact these people.
Oh, no, I think this is great
I think-
tracking, great
I think
organization.
back in the day when we were trying to grow the rec department, if someone said, hey, I could come and teach golf. Okay, great. It's another thing we can, and it filled up our activity sheet that we used to put on our refrigerators. Remember, it was the old school way to do it. So so I think the more they offered, the more the rec liked it. But now it's actually become both good for the town, but also a moneymaker for people who put on some of these activities.
Yeah,
So I think that just by having a document and protecting the town, and there is a cost of doing the
The accounting,
the
the
accounting part of it.
1099.
And then there's also a cost to them if they're using the building, heat, electricity, cooling. I mean, the tennis courts is a little different, but maybe, as you said, eventually we should charge for all, but definitely people are using the building and we're heating it and we're cooling it and so on. I think we're using electricity. There
It'll
should be a
be-
fee to that.
It'll be interesting to see if they go up on their prices
Well,
for
that's
the
most likely
residents.
what some might
Yeah.
do, but some might not. Because, I mean, we have some instructors that are people running programs that are getting $8,000 a year, $6,000. It's not like chump change for some.
Yeah.
It's an extra income. And so you have to also look at it like they're operating a business with no overhead. Like everybody would love to do that. But the idea that all the other towns around us and most of these instructors are running in other towns, they just look at us as, oh.
Free.
So one of the things that Tom mentioned was one of the soccer programs, not the rec program that we actually run and operate, but one of the other ones, when they said, oh, how much will we get from the fees? He said all of it. They were like, oh, okay. So they expect to be some kind of fee.
Yeah.
So my rec isn't cheap. I think I forgot how much it is, but it's not inexpensive for that program on a yearly basis. So all those things come to play. But what I wanted to point out to you too is on that last page, that second to last paragraph, that also talks about the background check. And so they decided to do it every 2 years. And right now it's about $8 per background check. The town picks up, I think it's $100 or $150 was a setup fee. Right around there. Don't quote me on the exact dollar value, but that was already done. And that fee will be deducted based on how many instructors that they have out of their payment. So everything is pretty easy. We wanted this easy for the rec director just to be able to put in the information, check the boxes. So then when we do it at town hall and payments go out, it's pretty cut and dry. So in this, the instructor signs, the director of Parks and Recs, and then the chairman of the rec commission would sign this agreement. But it also talks about holding harmless the town. And if they cancel classes, unless they reschedule those classes, that there's a deduction for that as well, because residents are paying for that. And one thing that's in here as well, so we charge residents less than we do out of town participants. So that's in here as well. And the town is the one that keeps that. That extra amount does not go to the instructor. It doesn't make sense why they would get more.
Do we have any idea how much this will potentially give the rec?
So we'd have to, I think Laura was making a separate line in QuickBooks or not QuickBooks, sorry, in our reporting program to say what our town run rec programs, dollar values, and what this will be. So once that happens, I'm sure it'd be able to calculate that for us. But it probably, I can't even estimate, but there are some programs, so it's probably a few $1,000s or so when it's all said and done. And then it also has a contract, and I think the background checks are the biggest part to come out of this whole process. Is as of now, we weren't running any background checks on any of our instructors or coaches.
So I will say, when I ran rec basketball years ago, all my coaches who made nothing, they volunteered their time, all got a background check. The town paid for it,
Right.
but they all got a background
Yeah,
check.
somehow that fell by the wayside. I'm not sure what happened, but that will be the case too. But the town will pick up that fee.
Mhm.
So that's $8 a coach or whatever. But they're gonna do it where it's every 2 years it's required.
Got it.
So they did pass this and voted on for it, and it's gonna be implemented July 1st. So it was just
So the Board of Selectmen don't have to vote on
I don't
this?
think we have to, it's because they voted on it, they're running the
So it wouldn't
program.
just-
Unless we had an issue with it, I think it's for us to,
So we can just agree to accept it as
yeah,
presented? Okay.
yeah, and it goes into effect July 1st. So it doesn't go to, so some of programs are already on, So there are programs starting now that run into July, but anything after that, that's a new program that comes up this will take effect.
Okay, I'm good with it. I think it's actually, it's a good step forward.
And it might be able to clean up the look of it, because it was a lot of moving stuff around. But otherwise, the content is all here.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Nice.
can we move on?
Yep.
What's that?
Yeah.
Thank you, Brett, that's good.
That is. great.
Tax, who wants to do tax refunds? There's actually one in your packet.
Do
Mm.
it. I will make a motion to approve tax rebates to Charles E. Elias in the amount of $660.25.
A second?
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Old business vacancies and appointments. We actually have two appointments. I didn't even know we had them. I was just told by Antoinette. One, we have to reappoint the assessor, just like we did with the tax collector and the town clerk. So, Darrell's is due to be reappointed by July 1st. Don't see any reason why we wouldn't reappoint him, but, so I'd entertain a motion to reappoint Darrell Del Grasso as our town tax assessor.
So moved.
Second, Nicole?
I'll second.
Perfect. Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Second one is shoot, what is the name of it? Hold on a second. It's a tourism, regional tourism, blah, blah. So you can find it. Eastern Connecticut Regional Tourism District, town representative. It's Michael Ergo. He's been the rep for the last 3 years. So I reached out to Mike, because I haven't spoken to Mike in months, and said, do you know about this? And is this something that you actually do? And he goes, yeah, as a matter of fact, I just went to the last meeting. I go to most of their meetings, and I'd be glad to come to a board of selectmen meeting and report, if you'd like, on what's going on with the regional tourism district. I said, okay, I just wanted to find out, because I didn't want to reappoint you if you didn't go. And so, anyway, so he is our current town rep to the Eastern Connecticut Regional Tourism District, and I look for a motion to reappoint.
I'll make a motion to reappoint Mike Ergo to the Tourism District
All right, so it's
Commission,
the Eastern Connecticut
the Eastern Connecticut.
Regional
Regional-
Tourism District.
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
That's.
Is there any second?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Brett Mastriani. And is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Perfect. Is there any public comment online or in the audience? It's just kind of quiet tonight, nobody online. Okay, the next meeting is July 2nd. I would like to, if it's okay, I'd like to cancel that meeting, if it's okay. Move everything to the 16th, so we can get through the July 4th holiday. I think that's a good week to kind of have a good time and get out. I know they said town hall is closed on Thursday and Friday that week. I think a lot of people travel that week. If it's okay with you guys, I'd like to move that to, just go to our next meeting, which is July 16th. And we'll talk about, if I haven't put one in already, a speed hump. We can talk, we'll talk about the conservation easement. And I think that's it. One thing I meant to mention, and I apologize on the first selectman comments, is the library was originally on this. And we talked about doing something with the library soon. I did talk to Amy Kennedy. They did have a extension put on their grant. So they've been extended from starting the project in December of 2024 to December of 2025. So they got a 1-year extension. They feel like now they're not going to come back to the Board of Selectmen until maybe September, because they're working on some additional grants. One of them is pretty substantial, and they would rather come to the town when they have more information as far as how much money they're going to actually need versus if they get this other grant. They've also made some changes to the project, especially on the front of the building. And they, and I asked them that when they do eventually come back, to have as much information as far as dollars, quotes, figures as possible. So that's something we won't be dealing with probably through July and August. Maybe we'll start looking at it again early September. So that's why they're not on the agenda. Anything else? If not, we can motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I will be adjourning at 8:16. Thank you.